Everyone ready?
Yes.
Call the August 2nd, 2023 Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order. I need a roll call vote.
Commissioner Barkley?
Here.
Commissioner Weinberger is absent. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Here.
Commissioner Harlow is absent. Commissioner Prisby?
Here.
Commissioner Elder?
Here.
And Chairman Bonin is absent.
Okay. That carries. Got a quorum? All right. We need to appoint a pro temp chairman. Chairman Bonin is absent, and the commission requires a temporary chairman for this meeting. So I ask if a commissioner is willing to make a motion to appoint me as the chairman pro tem.
I will. Commissioner, I move to appoint Commissioner Jim Prisby as Chairman Pro Tem for the August 2nd, 2023 Historic Preservation Commission meeting.
I second.
Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Barkley? Aye. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Prisby?
Aye.
Chairman Elder?
He's Chairman.
Commissioner Elder, sorry.
Aye.
All right, that carries. Good luck, everybody, I'm in charge. All right, first on the docket tonight, public meeting, case HP 10-2023, 420 South Park Avenue. Preservation incentive application for historically significant structures property, request for a property tax rebate and matching grant for exterior improvements. Would the applicant please come to the podium and provide a brief overview of the project? Please state your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Mimi Collins. I live at 420 South Park. I've been working on the house since December 1st, actually, 2021. Still working on it. It's been a project. The whole house, if you've driven by, has been restuccoed. The old aluminum screens have been taken down, and we're replacing them with new Marvin ones on the exterior because you couldn't see the beautiful steel windows. The outside driveway, the hardscape, the landscape's all been redone. Everything's been repainted, the roof's fixed, still have one leak. Gutters are still in process. We've had a lot of gutter problems. I've already had 3 gutter people that either disappeared or don't want to do the project. So I'm working on that still. I'm hoping to get those fixed and painted. And it's also like some fascia and stuff at the top of the house as well. So that's my last project, hoping to get that done before the October 5th event they're having with the Historical Society at the house. So it's a big project. It's a great house, always was, needed a lot of work. The inside was also renovated, but hoping to get incentives or grants or anything that the village will give me, because it's been really expensive, so.
Yeah, sadly, you did a lot of this work before this program was put in place. And having been through the house a couple months ago, you did a wonderful job on the house.
Thank you.
It really looked terrific.
Thanks.
And so this is for the property tax incentive, is that correct, or the?
Correct, so she would be applying
both.
for both the, she's applied for both the property tax rebate for the village portion of your property tax bill and the matching grant as well.
Okay. And I saw through here that we have even proposals of what this is gonna cost, and for the most part,
Yeah, for the most part, it keeps changing.
there are some things that are still
Yeah.
up in the air on
Yes.
cost.
The applicant did provide me with some other cost estimates for work being done, and I think those totaled over $200,000.
Okay.
But because that work had already been done, even though it would have been eligible work, it's already been completed, so she wasn't able to get credit for those.
Okay.
Well, my grandparents came to town in 1947, 48. That was one of 2 houses they
Really?
looked at closely. They ended up, I think that one was going for 50,000.
Wow,
And the one at 4th and Garfield, which they bought, which I now live in,
how nice.
was 25. So I've always loved that house. I knew the Trouts forever who lived there. So beautiful
Yeah.
house.
It's a beautiful house.
Does anyone have any questions, comments?
I think it's pretty straightforward.
think
I'm
so.
new, so I'm a rookie, but from my
Yeah,
rookie eye,
sounds
it looks
to me.
pretty straightforward.
Anyone in the public like to comment on
No.
this?
So the,
Thank you.
so the photos we're looking at, that's currently how it looks like, the home now?
It's not completely finished, but it's almost, there's still some painting to be done. The storms, some of them have arrived, but they have been installed. The other storms are still at the window company. They have to be painted, turnbuckled on, so they don't ruin the outside of the metal windows. It'll just be a big frame that Marvin made. Those haven't been done. A lot of that's time and material and what we run into. The gutters are still an issue, and the painting on the outside is still, there's some work to be done. And I'm trying to think,
It looks like a beautiful home. I don't have any comments other than,
No, I mean, I've been through it. Mimi did a terrific job. Unfortunately, she can't
there
recoup
was,
funds for those things,
the
so she has
stucco
to.
didn't count the new windows, the new arched windows in the front by Hope Windows. Those were really expensive to match the exterior. Those don't count, because I think I actually didn't pay for them till April, but I don't know.
Right.
And some back Marvin windows that had picture windows were replaced as well. I don't think counted, but
No.
all the stucco of the coach house and the main house, and a lot of repairs. So
Anyone else have any comments? Okay, so Bethany, this is, I think, the first one of these we've done? Is that
Correct.
correct? I don't know if I've missed one before.
No, this is the first financial incentive application that we've had. So with the property tax rebate and matching grants, these are something that the HPC would recommend approval to the village board, and then final approval would be provided by the village board. So if as this moves on, she would go to the village board for that official approval.
Okay, so we need a motion and a second and a vote of for nothing to approve this.
Correct.
At this point.
So your motion would be, you could read out the case number, the address, the preservation incentive application for historically significant structures property.
Right.
For the request that's listed here, and it would be, I recommend to approve.
Right.
Yep.
So let's do that. Who has a motion?
so basically just read off the case number.
Yep,
Okay.
where the re is, and
that
you
whole
can say, I move
Yeah,
to
that's what I was-
recommend to approve
okay,
to the village
got it.
board.
I move to case number HPC-10-2023-420 South Park Avenue, preservation incentive application for a historical significant structure property request for a property tax rebate and matching grant exterior improvements.
Second?
Roll call vote.
Who seconded, was that, okay, thank you. Commissioner Barclay? Aye. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Prisby?
Aye.
great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Again, terrific job on the
Thanks,
house.
Bethany, for
Thank you.
Yeah, we're lucky to have Bethany, that's for sure. Okay, next up, case HPC 13-2023, 515 South Lincoln Street, preservation incentive application for historically significant structures property, request for alternate bulk zoning regulations, building permit fee waiver and expedited processing, construction of a rear and side addition to the main house and a side and second-story addition on the existing detached garage. Okay, again, would the applicant please come to the podium and provide a brief overview of the project, and please state your name for the record.
Thanks for having us tonight, and thanks for hearing our story about our house. We're really excited about the project. I'm Brad Stahl, this is my wife, Larissa Domino, and we are, I think the best way to say it is hoping to preserve this house in the best way that we can so that it is a functional house and that, 5 years from now, if we happen to move or whatever it is, somebody doesn't say, we want to knock this house down, because the house is very special. I mean, we've got a great bond with it. Larissa found the house and fell in love with it, fell in love with the woodwork, fell in love with the coziness of the house and the warmth of the house. And so we obviously had an option when we found the house to go the route of, let's say tearing it down like many of these old houses, but we want to preserve the house and make it our own and make it usable in the future. And we enlisted the help of Joel and Mike Abraham to help us do that. And we think that we've got a great a great plan to do so and make it very, like I said, usable for a family, you know, in this day and age, and keep the bones the way they are and keep the kind of the story of the house the way it is. So happy to answer questions and anything else you might have.
How long have you been in the house?
We are not in the house.
Oh, you're not in yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
With the renovation that we're contemplating, we would probably have to move out of the house, so we've opted to stay in our current home.
But I think we went under contract in October, and then we closed on it, I think, sometime in January. So we've been working on these plans for a while. And it's tricky with these homes and some of the restrictions to kind of, meet the needs, right? So it took some time. So we're really excited for this meeting. We've been waiting for this meeting, and thank you for creating this program for us, or for everybody here in Hinsdale.
Yep.
And so you're looking for setback relief and floor area ratio, correct, Joel?
Joel knows the specifics.
Well, that's what Joel's here for, right?
FAR specifically is, we're asking for, and the setbacks, we're kind of right there with the corner side and the interior side.
So I know you provided Bethany with some FAR information. Unfortunately, it got in at 6 and I haven't had a chance to review that. So I'm gonna have some questions on that.
Of course.
So I know for this size lot, if we went by standard zoning, the floor area ratio would be 4,764.
Yes.
I'm kind of wondering where you are now on floor area, and it's a difficult question because the plan that's there now, what's on site right now, that detached garage, you're only counting half of that on floor area ratio, because it is the
you
only
use your
garage
words?
in the rear 20%, and none of that counts on floor area. You get that half bonus, and that's probably
Well,
about
half up to, is it
up to
125?
250.
250?
Right. And I don't think the garage is 500 square feet,
It's
so,
760.
There's actually two structures.
right, there's two structures, right?
No,
For a
no,
garage, there's the shed,
Yeah, there's a shed.
and there's the existing detached.
Probably used to be a
The
garage. so.
shed
Could have
has a
been,
garage
right? It's big
door
enough,
and
right?
driveway. So
I think
there's
it might
kind
have
of
been.
3 garage spots
But
currently.
The existing
used-
garage
used- yeah.
is
Used as a
760.
garage, the zoning code states that if it's the only garage for the property and it's in the rear 20% of the lot, you only count half of that towards your floor area ratio, right? As soon as you attach a garage, now you have to count all of it, because it's not the only by definition. So that's where kind of understanding where all the zoning and floor area ratio is, it's kind of a tricky discussion.
Always.
Totally, exactly. Yeah, Joel gets it. That's why I kind of like to know, if you calculated this house right now, because it has an attached garage, plus a 3-car garage, where are we kind of in relation to that 4764? And I'm just starting a conversation on this. We're gonna open this up for a whole discussion. I kind of trying to see where, because this is the first one where we've done this.
Yep.
I want to see kind of how we are on relating to bulk. Now, you and I both know, because we play this game all the time, right, with floor area ratio. I hate floor area ratio. I think it's not a good way to measure bulk on a house. It can be manipulated
Yeah.
any way you see fit, right? But it's still a standard that the village uses, that we have to use as a criteria, that says, okay, well, a normal house under normal zoning can only do 4764. What you're asking for, requesting right now, I'd kind of like to get a sense of where this new plan would be in that calculation. Are we at 4,800? Are we at 5,400? I mean,
So the whole thing, so we don't count the 3rd floor, because it's under
Right.
the 20%.
Right. Or the
of-
basement.
And no basement. So we eliminate those. That's not much. The 3rd floor was 250, I believe.
yeah, you're only looking at first and second floor and all the garages.
Yeah, so 200 on the 3rd floor, so that's not counted.
Doesn't count.
The existing detached garage is 760. So it's about 20, I don't have to put
The
it.
existing?
It was,
Because it just looks like a 2-car
it's
garage.
24 by 30,
Okay, so it's extra deep,
yes.
okay?
Which is one of the perks of that and
Sure.
maintaining that. And so just the house of the 1st floor is 2479, and just The second floor of the house is 1603. So those together are 4082 out of our allowable 4764. So then you add that 700 into the garage, we are at the max.
Right.
767.
So you're pretty much, that first floor house is your plan right now with the garage attached. That's in that 2479.
Yes.
That's not the existing house only. That's your
The
addition.
existing house is, well, knocking that rear addition off, the
Sure.
existing house is 1547.
All right, so your plan,
1347.
the plan that you have submitted, the design you have submitted, 2479 first floor, 1603 second floor, and 760 for the existing garage.
Yes.
And now you're adding, does that include the add to the detached garage?
And then the detached addition is 363.
Okay, so you're really at about 5,200 square feet.
Yep, 5177 FAR, no third floor,
Right.
no second floor of the garage, that loft area.
So you're about 435 square feet over what would be the normal FAR. Right. It helps me with kind of perspective on
course.
bulk. So I wanted to kind of throw this out to the group for discussion. We haven't really had a lot of time to kind of digest this. And I'm going to play a little devil's advocate tonight, too. So, I personally look at this incentive plan that we put forward and implemented as a way of preserving old houses, right? To make them livable, to make them be able to modernize them. And during those discussions, we had a lot of debate on what that would look like. And we finally came back and said, okay, let's take the best of all worlds on zoning, right? Let's take the regular zoning, let's do pre-code structures, let's do non-conforming. Take all the best aspects of that really widen the range of things we can do and put that into one historic overlay district zoning code, which we're operating under right now. And the idea was, if you had, when it came to floor area ratio, if you were at max FAR, but you couldn't do a kitchen, or you couldn't add a second car garage, or a family room, or a master suite, to bring things up to modern standards, right? Yeah, you could add some FAR for that. You can adjust the setbacks. Those all became incentives, right? It freed some things up that you wouldn't have to go in front of ZBA. You wouldn't have to go through that whole drawn-out long process to do that. And the idea was to try to incentivize people to keep the house, right? And as always, I like the designs you guys came up with, all right? So I'm not worried about the design.
Thank you.
I look at it and I wonder if having 4 cars of garage is a necessity to preserve the house. It could be argued a lot of different ways, and that's why I want to kind of bring it up for the group, because you are the first one to come before us for an FAR waiver, right? We'll be setting a lot of precedent here. And I've had some discussions that related to, as an example, let's say this was 10 years ago and you bought the house, right? And you did this wonderful addition, and you added on to the third car garage, and you tore down the shed, and you were at your maximum floor area ratio with that addition. You did what we all would have done 10 years ago. You would have said, you would have built this thing to 1/4 of a square foot of the maximum floor area ratio, because that's what you do. Then somebody comes in 10 years later and says, you know what, we want a 4th car garage, we want to add to the side. I kind of wonder what the village thinks, what this board thinks. Would they say, well, a 4th car garage is a necessity to preserve the house? Is that something we should be incentivizing? And I'm not picking sides on this just yet. I think it's a worthy discussion that this board should at least have, because we are early in this process. So, and that's part of why I wanted to see where we are on floor area ratio, because now we're 435 square feet beyond that, and it's just a number, right? Like I said, we can manipulate bulk all we want, right? I want to hear what some of the other commissioners think on this, because those were at least my thoughts initially is, I look at the whole mission of the incentive program is to help people do some things that they wouldn't normally be able to do because the zoning was preventing them from doing it. Now, and I'm focusing only really on the fourth car garage aspect of this. Is that something that is preventing you from adding on to the house? Is a fourth car really necessary? It was brought up in one of my discussions. Well, what if that is just a mudroom, right? If it's a mudroom attached to the house, someone could say, well, a mudroom, very much a usable thing, a very necessary thing on modern homes. You need closet, you need blockers, places to throw stuff when you come in from a detached garage, right? And we don't really have that here, right? How would this look to other commissioners or to the village or to yourselves if the scope of what that part of the addition was, right? Does that change people's opinion on what should be done there? And I don't know the answer to that, but I figured I'd throw it out there so we could all at least have a discussion on it. So I don't know if you have an initial comment regarding that, or,
You know, how long, does it have some in the market for a while? Or?
Well, I'm in the industry, so, I heard about it as a
So you
pocket
know.
listing, and we purchased it that way. Being a real estate agent in town, there is a demand, there are more dual incomes now than there were, even 50 years ago. I think having parking spots for the kids and stuff, there is some necessity to many families, especially the larger families. And I guess it could be argued as even a 3-car garage necessity, three versus four. I hear your point. I think it's an interesting one. We did design it to make it look like old carriage house for horses, so that was their mode of transport, and it does look like that, so we were kind of excited with the design aspect of it. The 1-car attached is more just,
It's really security.
it's, for me to,
Safety.
that's my spot.
That's her spot.
So that I don't have to go outside, and, I think the driveway's a little narrow on the side, and I think it helps with this, this program helps us make it somewhat manageable. It's not the best driveway on the side, but it was one that, I think is acceptable to my husband, and I think for the market, in the future. But we tried to work with it to try to make it, to kind of, the theme is to respect the home. And so I think the architecture and everything, we tried to kind of fulfill that.
well, I think that works,
Yeah.
right? I mean, as you look at the project as a whole and the work that Michael Abrahams and Joel do,
Yeah.
right? I don't have a problem with the architecture, right? The design is great. I'm kind of going on a deep dive on the philosophy and the program because it's so early. I don't,
Well,
I get concerned about, I guess, future abuses from people that don't do this the right way and aren't concerned. And it's some aspect of this, not all of it, but I as part of what I think about, the many things I'm thinking about associated with this, one of those pieces is, are we setting a precedent for the wrong thing?
Does coverage, because we aren't given relief on coverage,
Right.
does that limit?
I think that's one of your best arguments. When I try to weigh things out pro con,
Joel will tell you, like, I pushed
I think
all
we got
over.
point one left on
Yeah,
coverage.
I pushed all over on this, and it always came back to coverage, that this is all we got.
right,
So I think that limits I'll call it the potential abuse, because people still want their living space.
right.
And the coverage will take care of how big the garage is.
I personally think that's one of your best arguments, as I weighed out the pros and cons as I reviewed this, was you do meet all the building coverage requirements, barely, but it doesn't matter if it's barely, you meet it, that's the rule, right? You've also met all the accessory use requirements. You've met the rear yard coverage requirements, you're still in that rear 20%. All that criteria has been met as well. So I think that's a really good argument to use for in favor of this. And I'm just kind of still looking to hear from these guys on what they think regarding.
Well,
what
I
I'm
would say there
putting
is
up.
a practical function. I mean, I have friends on the street who say when their kids start driving, they'll have to move because you can't park on the street overnight.
That's correct.
And if you have, say you end up selling the house to somebody who has 4 kids and multiple cars, and they need to have a space so they're not at 6 a.m. at 0 degrees pulling cars out and vacuuming in to get all the cars in and out. So from a practical standpoint, I see the need for all the garages. And then it also gives you obviously more space above, correct?
No.
And that, but I always go back to that. And now I'm very aware when I especially drive down Lincoln thinking, what are these people gonna do when they have all these kids get licenses and they get cars? Like, where do you park your car overnight? Or it's a problem. I mean, they said my friend said they have to move.
So,
Well, if they didn't have the driveway, that would be a parking spot. I'm probably the most conflicted guy in here because I've got 5 garage spots and like 8 cars, and a number of them sit outside. I make my kids park outside, but I'm definitely a pro garage guy. But my big one is in the back 20%. So I guess I'm brand new to this committee. Well, second meeting. So how much of our future decisions are based on aesthetics versus this kind of thing? Because
I think we're talking about something that's, some people are using the word necessity. I think it's about convenience. It's convenient to park your car inside a garage. I mean, I have adult children. We have a 3-car garage, and then when we have, and even though we're short by a car, they still have to share a car. Not every kid has to have a car, at least in the way.
my main driver sits outside.
But no,
all
that's
the way.
not my point. My
But not-
point
but-
is just where do you put cars, period? If you have grandparents who stay, where do you put cars if you can't overnight park them on the street? You have to place them somewhere. And this gives them the option of doing that. I am just thinking,
But
what is the best way where this house doesn't get torn down by another owner?
Yeah.
Right.
So.
That's all we care about.
No, I understand. I think, isn't there room, devil's advocate, isn't there room outside to create some space?
Well, you've got driveway space, which is what I have too.
And I know a lot of families do something similar to that. The issue is, what's gonna happen if we're gonna go from, let's just make a number of, let's say from 4-car garage, and we're gonna go to 5-car garage and 6-car,
Well, but I mean, now we can't anticipate
No,
every one-off
That's
that's
not what
gonna
I'm
happen.
saying.
No, we can't.
That's not what I'm saying. Missy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is a point that there needs to be, if you want to call it a logical decision or responsible decision for that matter, because at which point does the board has to say, hey, this is not what we really planned this for. This program was not incentive, was not actually it wasn't so much, I don't recall anybody talking about cars when we were making these conversations. It was all about preserving the home.
Well, it's not just about the car, it's the space above the garage, right?
Well, there's no space
no
above this
space above
garage.
it.
Well, it's a loft space, right, that could potentially,
No, that's the back.
That's the
garage.
back, the detail.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, yeah.
We're talking about the 1-car attached.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, we're talking about 4 parking garage spaces, but 3 of those are for this detached garage, which gives you more space above, correct?
Yes.
Which is a sellable feature for how people want to want to live and have space.
As is the 1-car attached, I mean, I think many families want at least one space attached. I mean, there is a sellable feature there for the modern family. I think most at least prefer it.
Well, are we saying if they had come to us with this exact same look, but that garage was a mudroom, because it's beautiful, like you can barely tell it's gorgeous,
Right.
but it's a mudroom, we'd be okay with that because they want to use this
Well,
in a different
and I
fashion.
don't know, that's why I'm throwing it out
I
there
don't-
for
we don't know
discussion.
yet.
I think this is a great discussion to have. Unfortunately, they're the first people to do this. So I could see this being a very contentious discussion, but I think it's a very healthy one that we need to have.
Yeah, I've never been
It
opposed
is-
with this.
it is, when we talk about making these houses livable, to make these, I don't, it's not so much saleable, but livable, right? What is in a modern home that people want, that they're being prevented from doing, which was the initial part of the incentive program discussions were, what are we preventing people from having that is in a modern home? And some of the discussion was, and again, a little related to this, people couldn't get a 2nd-car garage
Yeah.
because they were over floor area ratio. And not that the numbers matter that much, but people couldn't add on to a kitchen, couldn't add a family room, couldn't do a master suite, couldn't add a mudroom or a small access out the back that they could go through to get to their detached garage. And those were, the zoning code was preventing those things from happening. So I'm viewing things from that lens from when we started this 3 years ago and saying, okay, well, how does that relate to a plan like this when it is a 4th-car garage? Does that change if it's a mudroom? I think that's an excellent question that I don't necessarily have an answer for.
But even if it was new construction, you'd have the same constraints, and there'd be no option to.
If you did new construction, which is what we worry about, right? We don't want these to come down. The house would have to be 435 square feet smaller, which is essentially a
Cut your
two-car
mudroom
garage.
down and everything else down to fit.
Right, it would be a two-car garage smaller on the site. Unless they did a detached
So,
garage.
right, that's right, so they knocked the home down, the new house would be smaller, right?
Yes, by 435 square
Yes,
feet.
yeah,
But
400.
I don't want to get hung up on that
No, I'm
number.
not, I'm not gonna go there.
Well,
I'm just trying to understand.
To me, I would approve 1,000 square foot addition if I thought it was necessary to keep the old house and they were that restricted.
Question, we don't really set precedent, though. I mean, every one of these comes before us, correct?
Correct. Everyone should be basically reviewed on their own
So
merits.
just because
Yes.
we allow them this deviance in square footage, whatever we're gonna do, doesn't mean that we have to allow it in every situation going
Correct.
forward.
Well, they're gonna then go back to this one.
And
This-
well-
They do get reviewed on their own merit, but having done this for many years with the ZBA, people will come in and point to that precedent. Well, you
Yeah.
did it for homeowner X last year, why aren't you doing it for us this year? What's the difference?
That's why I was asking, how much of
That's-
a decision is aesthetics versus
I think,
allowing more
too, if
FAR
you
or something? Can you,
add
can
these
you say, we don't
houses-
like your design on another one that comes? See, I just don't know the
Right.
ropes yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, we went through, I mean, in our eyes, and again, we weren't there when you guys created this program or what the exact mission was. I mean, I think the, you know, like you said, the mission is probably not to tear down the houses, to give some form of
Yes.
incentives to residents. You know, the kitchen is, you can see on the plans, it's purposefully a lower ceiling to match the rest of the house, so it's 9 foot something. And the idea was that it was an enclosed porch, so architecturally, I mean, we were going for the aesthetics of the home so that it would match the home and match kind of like it looked like it was always there. The 3-car detached garage purposefully looks like a carriage house. A carriage house, you know, very normal to have back in the day. The 1-car attached garage was meant to almost look like a portrait chair, which were popular. So we were focused more on the aesthetic, like what do we want? If we were to tear it down and build from scratch, what would we want? And let's see what we can get by preserving this house. But let's make sure it like doesn't look choppy and kind of flows and looks like it was all meant to be there. So
Yeah, designs
that was
work.
our personal goal as we went through it. I think it's super interesting discussions, but we really did try to preserve that aesthetic and kind of think about the different new areas being added on and what the purpose and story could have been back in the day.
Larissa, do you want to tell them a little bit more about the inside of the house? We've talked about a lot of the accessory structures, but you are doing some things to the inside, correct?
Sure. And I don't know, Joan, do you want to take it through, or I'm happy to?
I mean, as you walk in that house, it's beautiful. I don't know if any of you have been through there at all.
Sixth
like-
grade, I used to know the kid who lived there.
Joel, I actually designed the porch in '98.
I've heard you did work on it. I mean,
Okay,
the woodwork is all there.
It's terrific.
This house is great. You walk in there, the paneling, the heavy crown, it's original oak, I believe. Hasn't been painted. You got the fireplace to the right. This cozy little nook area, kind of an entry room. And then you got the dining room, and those are kind of the 3 or 4 main rooms. The rest of it is been addition or remodeled, and so as you walk through it, we're gonna clean that up, keep the 3 rooms historic, and then add on some modern amenities to that. To the point of, are we approving a 4-car garage? Like, the program's the program as clients come to us, right? We could design a smaller house, get the 4-car garage on there. That's not a problem. We would do an awesome house with a 4-car garage. This house already comes with X amount of square footage, X amount of rooms, whether they're gonna be used or not, they're there. So we have to work around them. The program was for 4 cars, and we've made that work aesthetically, connecting to that original house and complementing it all. Like, it's not, you are now an oversight board, and these houses are voluntarily put on there. And you, as the homeowners know, we are now opened up to discussions of these, right? Where we're getting something back by allowing you guys, this board, to have a say in it. But it comes down to that you could do a 4-car garage either way. and it works. The house would be smaller if it was brand new, but we would still be able to do that, right? It's not,
It
it's not
could
one
do.
way or the other. It could work either way, right? If the house got torn down and it was brand new.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, not to interrupt you, but you made this point of like the house, so if you haven't been in it, you go in and the porch is, I always thought the porch was always there. There was a picture, I think, Bethany, you provided to us, and Brad said, look, this porch was always there, but it was a newer picture that kind of was like black and white and made it look older, and that was with the porch, and that's kind of the theme of this. Like, the porch is amazing, it looks like it was always there, and that's our intent with this house. But when you walk in, there's this, as you know, vestibule, and you walk in, there's this parlor on the left. And we, we designed a brand new house, we don't have a parlor. And there's this giant, giant living room on the right. And again, if we design a house, the living room will be there, right? And so those two rooms could become smaller like this, or even eliminated. And then you've got the dining room, and then the back of the house, it was added on, because I think a little bit by the previous sellers, I don't know if you were involved with that.
I don't think so, no.
CBJ.
Yeah, but so, it basically has a kitchen currently and then, a mudroom in the back, but it's got this gorgeous lot, so we were like, we would love to open it up and see views of this gorgeous lot, and we just kind of like, started working and all these ideas started flowing, and then it's like, yeah, it'd be cool to have this kitchen with this enclosed porch look, and like, opens up to this giant family room, because from my experience, our family and most families really love that giant family room with the windows that you can see the views of the yard and access, and it's a great lot, so you might as well enjoy that outside. So that was kind of how we went through it, but like some of those rooms that, you kind of triggered a thought is like if we designed a house from scratch, we would never put, those rooms in there, and they could easily be eliminated for probably other people would have the same view. So that's the tough part with these houses is like, they come with stuff that you kind of try to work around and make it work, and like, it's still, it's awesome, but if we were building from scratch, I think we probably would do still something
And-
different, but we just like, we really love this house. Like, you've seen the molding, every designer wants me to paint all the molding white, and I love that look. Like, that is my preferred look, that's most of my clients' preferred look. I am like really challenging somebody to like help me figure out a design that I can preserve as much of this wood. It's from 1890 and it hasn't been touched. And I've been through a lot of the houses in Hinsdale, like it is hard to find, and it's thick, and Mike was in there and he's like, you cannot paint this, it's like heart of the tree, and it's like super beautiful.
Yes.
And, so, we're trying to do what's right, and I know it's hard for you guys too, because we're one of the first, so it's never fun. But, some of it is, I think, like the aesthetic that comes across, because if it looks like it was all kind of meant to be there, that's what, in my mind, when I see an addition or a house being built, I'm like, well, I wish somebody would have stopped, like you want them to be interesting, but you also want them to kind of respect that historic period. And that's the tricky thing, is like, is it a need or is it the aesthetics, like, or is it a combo?
Yeah, I had Jim do that for me. Added onto my old house, which was built in the 1860s, so.
And really, my problem isn't with the design at all. I think, as I've said before, I think they did a great job. It matches the house, it plays with the house. I think all that's wonderful. Mine was more of a deep dive on the philosophy of it. And the reason we got into this program in the first place was because of exactly what you said. You get these houses with rooms that just aren't used that way anymore. What do you do with them? Maybe you've got the old living room, dining room combination that is 16 feet wide by 30 feet long with a fireplace on the side wall. You can't break it up. What do you do with it? And it all counts towards your floor area ratio. And you couldn't then add these spaces that are necessary. You had this giant living room, dining room area, and you had a kitchen that was 12 by 12 that's not usable, right? And no little kitchen space for eating, and no family room behind it. And that's what kind of encouraged us to get to this point on the incentive plan was, how do you counteract those spaces that you really can't touch anymore? And it does allow for an addition like this. I'm just kind of in that mindset at the moment that I wonder, Sarah, you were talking about the attached garage and being able to park extra cars there. I get back to, okay, does that have to be enclosed? If there you've got two cars, you've got the ability to get past it, and where the garage is now for the one car, does it have to be an enclosed structure? Right? That becomes a floor area thing versus a building coverage thing. You could actually cover that as like a carport and have it count on the building coverage, which they're still under, but not have it enclosed. How does that affect bulk?
I still think
It's
it's
just-
nicer though to have the cars hidden.
Oh, sure. Hey, I'd love to have
I
a
violate that. I
garage.
got cars out in the front of my house all the time, so. I'm a bad guy on that, but
But it's on the side, and it's allowed because it's on the path from the street to the garage. Like if you just had a driveway come in and you want to create a parking spot in the front of the house, you couldn't do that because it's required to be on the path to
except me, I was grandfather.
your grandfathered in, yes, exactly. And this might be too, for
I
all
had
I
to,
know.
I had to submit pictures from the 70s to show.
I remember, we had to look for those.
That's right, you're on it.
So, what else? What else would anyone like to add or discuss?
I mean, my,
Summarize, though, how much are we going over here? So what is the exact number that you're,
About 435 square feet.
435?
Which, to give you a kind of a sense of what that, it's about a two-car garage. A 20 by 20 garage is 400 square feet, and that's a small two-car garage.
Okay.
And think about that in relation to the actual floor area ratio. It's about an 8 to 9% overage.
Yeah.
And remember, like, it took us months to figure this out.
Larissa,
I mean, because.
Do you mind going to the mic?
Yes.
I just got a text that they
Usually a
can't
pretty
hear
loud
as
voice.
well.
Sure. No,
Thank you.
That must be John watching.
It really took us months with Joel and Mike's team to come up with this plan for the garage because of the coverage. And it's like, even now, we're looking at landscape design, and if you want this garage, you know, you're a little more limited on patio space then. You know, like, you guys have other restrictions, and you have height restrictions, that you have other things in place that aren't controlling, you know, bigger structures coming on in the future, even though, you know, each case will be taken on one at a time. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's beautiful. We would absolutely love your support with this. It's been a project that we've been working on for almost a year without breaking ground yet, and we're super excited about it, and we would love to preserve it.
Well, it's my view that, and it's hard because you are the first, but we set this up for just this family, like just for these owners, people like this, to come and say, we want to save this house. We rarely get that around here. We want to save a house.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that we let people do whatever they want, but if this is the first and we are not supportive of the first one because we don't think they need a 4-car garage, I worry that people aren't going to go to the trouble and they'll say, this is too much hassle and we're just going to knock it down. And then we'd be right here facing a plan of a new build with stairs through the windows, like we'd be all crying about it, like another one of these houses.
Right.
And so I just think that we need to be flexible in a measured, responsible way. And we have to determine if this is measured and responsible, given what they want to do, and the appearance, the aesthetics, and then what we're saying to the broader community. Like, do we want to work with you, or are we going to be a thorn in your side? I would rather work with you. I mean, this is gorgeous. This is beautiful. And to save this house and have it look like it's going to look, and it fits in. And have you talked to the neighbors, like any of, like the one immediately, what would it be, north? Because it really doesn't,
We've talked, but not about the house.
Okay.
We've exchanged phone calls and that sort of thing.
yeah, I mean, not that, I'm just wondering what they, not that it matters, but I would just like to see us be supportive of this really beautiful project. Whether we think that that should be a mudroom or that should be a garage, that's their money and their decision to make, whether they shrink it and make it smaller so that they can get what they want. But I would just like to be flexible, and I would like to be reasonable, and I would like to be supportive. And so that she can go out as a realtor and say to the community, I went through this, people who are buyers, I went through this process. They were really reasonable. They were really helpful. This is exactly what we got. Because we, as a board, are always concerned that there's not full support among realtors in the community about saving houses. But if we can get one who goes through the process and says that they were reasonable, this incentive plan works. Here's what we were able to do. We were able to save this house. I'm supportive of that for 435 square feet.
Yeah, my view is, I don't think having the fourth garage is going to have you walk away from the project or hurt the home in the long term. But given the care that you've put into the design and everything else, and that it's just a gorgeous house, I believe I'm behind the plan. We might be setting, somebody might argue we're setting precedent, and maybe we are. Maybe we are setting up a target of that, but, if everybody brought a house with a design like this in front of us, again, for 400 and whatever square feet, I'd be happy.
Okay.
So I'm trying to see the site plan as far as looking at the easement lines. On the north, you're going over one of the easements, like how many feet? Just curious.
Any new construction on this is
That's the existing
code.
garage.
This is existing?
There's
Yeah,
an
the
existing
detached two-car garage
detached.
is existing.
This
So
one?
they're adding on to this side.
Oh, okay, got it.
So everything that's hatched is new.
Oh, I see, got it. Okay.
So you, from
Oh,
the
so you're at
street,
what-
do you really see that attachment? I'm sorry.
No, I just want, so you got, I'm going back and forth through all the plans. And so you're adding one single car garage, is that it? Based on the detached garage?
in the enclosed stair up, yep.
Yeah, okay.
And this,
Right, that's the one I see.
Right.
That one doesn't,
I'm not worried,
I'm not worried about that one.
I'm not worried how it looks.
Yeah, I'm not.
And Sarah,
And the-
I respect everything you said, okay?
No, I appreciate you
And-
bringing up the matter. This is
Yeah,
important
I'm
to
glad
talk
you teed
about.
it up.
Yeah, and I felt I needed to tee this up.
Yeah,
I didn't think it
no,
was gonna be
I-
a simple discussion, and I think it's healthy to have this discussion.
I agree.
So now.
I see what you're saying and appreciate all that. I also recognize from kind of being in this a lot, that I think there has to be some sense of a limit where you can't have someone come in and do double the size of the house and go, but what that is, I think is that's what varies from job to job, right? And what is it that we're adding on? What do they need to make something work to keep this house? I think also factors into that. It's a piece to the puzzle.
I agree.
I think it's a beautiful design. I think it's great with the house. I have no issues with any of that. I'm gonna keep saying that, right? I think you guys did a great job thinking through this. Michael Abraham's office did a wonderful job making it all work, and looking good. But sitting in this chair, on this board, on this commission, and knowing what we've gone through to get to this point and what the intent was, it's a little bit off from that. And that's why I felt it was a good idea to throw this out there and have that discussion.
And I agree. I mean, if somebody came to us and said we wanted 2,000 more square feet, of course we would say, you can't do that. But for 435 square feet, there's a difference between being rigid and then saying, and you can't really even see that garage from the street, the addition. So I take that into account too. Because we're about what you can see, correct?
And
From
actually,
the street.
you can't see this from the street. The
No,
one
but
car.
no, the one to the, if they built the detached,
The
I walked
detached in
over
the
there
back,
last night.
that they add on one.
right, you
can't
cannot see
it
that
from
from
the street.
Lincoln Street, but you can see that from Sixth.
But you would be seeing a structure there anyway
See,
from
you got the
Sixth Street,
shed there
right?
now, which was the original
Right.
garage, I believe.
Yes, I believe it was. Yeah, the shed, I think, was the
Yeah.
original garage.
So they're already seeing something
Sure,
there.
right.
This is prettier.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine the neighbors to the east would prefer the one structure versus the two. I don't want to speak for them, but.
Yeah, I would I'd probably agree with that. I don't want to speak for them either.
I just don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face,
I don't want to, believe me, in the pros and cons columns, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy sitting here saying no, and then 6 months later, they come back with a plan for a new home,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And we did not accomplish what we wanted to. Believe me, I am very sensitive to that. I just, I keep getting back to the reasons and the philosophy and the mission
I
of
get
the
it.
incentive program.
I
And,
hear you.
and I think everyone's gonna have a little bit different viewpoint on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, makes this commission great, is everyone's bringing something different to the table.
And then it's, whose definition of what is livable is the one that we follow. I mean, for them, could be this is
Right.
deal breaker for someone else. It's not. And who are,
So
I
I'm
hear you, Jim.
trying to acquire a little bit the detached garage, the square footage on the first floor is approximately, what, 357 square feet, is that?
The new addition include the single-car garage stall, and the enclosed stair on the addition is 363 square feet.
363, okay, well, that's fine, it's close enough. And then then there's gonna be a loft upstairs, right? That's gonna be a new space, correct?
And none of that counts, right?
That doesn't
loft?
count? The loft doesn't count?
If it's under, what, 20% or something?
If it's under 20% of that.
Okay.
I don't know
Floor
if that's a
below.
cumulative of both of those structures.
That's a good question. I think it's,
But the space is there no matter what. This is, it's an attic area.
Oh,
that's
it's an
being
attic, so it's,
finished.
okay, got it.
It is being finished out per our plans, but
Right,
it's
right,
one of
okay,
those,
that's,
as
okay, I
Jim
understand.
spoke of earlier, that
So, you said that the first,
611 doesn't count.
you said 366, is that right, for the ground floor of the?
Yeah, 364.
So, I'm trying to figure out some number. So we're arguing about 366 square feet? Is that's
well,
what
we're
we're discussing?
We're technically arguing, when you add everything together, of an overage of 435, which is about, if the FAR is 4764, it's about 8-9%.
Which includes a roughly 200 square foot storage area above that new great room. As you go through the master, we have the closet area. The new closet's part of the addition. You step up.
Right.
To
Joel,
over the
I'm
great
glad you
room.
brought that up. Does any of that space count?
We're counting it because we will have 8-foot ceilings there. I cut it, the FAR line stops at 7 feet.
Okay,
But as we know, 611 doesn't count towards FAR.
right.
It is not a volume calculation, it's strictly a ceiling height bulk calculation. So really, if you exclude that, we're at 200 square feet over.
I
What are you
agree.
gonna say?
What am I gonna say? It's like, this is a tough one. Not,
It
because.
is a tough one.
That's what I'm thinking. It's,
It would have been easier if a first case with something like this was just egregious.
yeah, it would have been something like, oh, you're
Or,
tripling
yeah,
the,
or just,
yeah, you're adding a third, you're adding 3 more
I mean,
floors.
it's the site as a whole, it's, the program can be X amount of items, right, of anything, that whatever that client wants, that homeowner wants. The previous one that was approved, and I believe it was the special meeting, was an accessory structure setback. And I know our office has half a dozen of these coming up to present to you guys.
There's more. Can't wait.
There's a lot coming that, they're all sorts of wants, right? From FAR to setbacks, to the main structures, to the accessory structures, like, it will be all over the board for each and every one of these. They're all individual. Each of these historic homes are unique in their own way, and we have to work around that, what's there. So it's not, the next person's not gonna want a 4-car garage, but that next person might want, a larger kitchen closer to the house, setback line, right? And they're all gonna be individually different.
I think it's exciting that you have so many cases. I mean, I'll say from a real estate perspective, I mean, people are definitely looking at historical homes differently. I mean, they're like, wow, what are all these incentives that the village has? And they're gonna be paying attention, probably watching right now or watching later and saying, gosh, how did that go? So it's kind of fun to watch, especially some of these, new people coming into the area getting really excited about these historic homes. I mean, it really,
Right.
like, we've seen
we've seen it as well.
Congrats to you guys for making that shift, because I think
Well-
that was the point of the program.
You know, this comes to one of my philosophies or thoughts that, you know, I've said, look, you can modify the home around the back as long as you don't change the streetscape from the front and expand and change it around and, I don't know, whatever you want to do with it. And this is basically exactly
That.
that was not, but I appreciate the architect and I appreciate the design and, you know, I'm on the fence. I don't know, and how much does it bother me? And it's not I'm glad that they're making a huge effort to come here and try to work with us and try to make it livable for their desired needs. And at the same time, the home is not being torn down, which,
Correct.
Which is a success.
So here's where I'm struggling, okay? Now, I'm gonna lay my cards out here. I'm also on the fence, okay? And they've been working on this for a long time. They put a lot of effort into it. They wanna get started.
I know they want to get started.
Right.
Right.
In an ideal world, I would sit here and say, we only got 4 people here. You need all 4 yeses, right? And if we've got, maybe you're on the fence or I'm on the fence and we don't know how we're gonna vote, in an ideal world, I would table this for a month so we could have a discussion as a group with Shannon, with John, with Bill. But that holds them up for a month. So I'm kind of struggling mentally myself on what to do at the moment. Sarah, do you have a comment on that?
No, well, you know what my vote's gonna be, so I mean, I don't know how I can sway you,
What about
any other
that,
way.
though?
but
Do you think that's a good idea to get
I
the
just
other?
don't, you know, I definitely appreciate them coming to what we do here. I always think that sometimes I don't wanna get in people's way. Like, this is real money that they're
No,
losing.
I totally get
This
it.
is a month of mortgage, this is real money, and having gone through this exact same thing myself, if I were delayed, I think, I would be telling all of town, I can't believe the preservation board is trying to tell us what to do with our house and trying to prevent, we're only trying to add 435 square feet. They say they want to help, but they're really not helping. I just think, what does this say to the community? When we are holding them up for 435 square feet that has been meticulously thought through and thoughtful of the site. And if we are going to evaluate every single project that comes before us, which we will do, so it's not like we're saying we're gonna automatically approve 2,000 square feet overage
All right.
because we did 435.
Or even maybe another 435 we might shoot down.
Exactly, because they wanted to add, I don't know, a med spa to their house. Like, I don't know what it is. But in this particular case, I think this is really reasonable. I think it's a great case for us to say, look what we were able to do with our new plan, our new incentive plan. Look what was able to do for this family and for the town. And this is a great use of this board. So that's my only thought. But
Yeah.
I understand you want to get everybody here, but I really feel for a family who's got to pay another month.
And understand, Sarah, I do this every day with
Yes,
the zoning.
yes.
9% on FAR is a huge number in this
Yeah,
town.
okay, I get it, I get
It's been
it.
fought for years, so for me, that is a big
Okay.
aspect of this.
All right, and I do not have that experience.
That's okay.
I'm not, that you do, so I
That-
appreciate that comment. But I just, from the Historic Preservation Board standpoint, this is exactly what we've been asking for
Yeah,
years, right?
I agree with her.
This is exactly what we've
That's
been
what we've
asking
been
for,
trying
and
to
now that
fight
it's
for.
landed in our laps,
With it,
we're
yeah.
gonna say, wait, maybe not. So that's my only concern. What are we saying here? It's like we're talking out of both sides of our mouth.
I think we still have a responsibility, though, to make sure that it does fit the mission in granting these incentives, so.
Okay,
I
I
don't wanna
respect
just
that,
be the
Jim.
guy
Jim, I
that,
respect.
always says yes because it was an old house and we get to keep it.
I know, but I'm not saying we are always gonna say yes just because we said yes to the first one, but if there's one to say yes to, I think it would be this plan.
And again,
That's where I come down.
I think it's a really great plan. I keep stating that, right? I think it's a good design, right? Again, philosophically,
Yeah, I know, I just, you know, it's real dollars and cents, and so I
right.
feel
And I appreciate that
strongly.
too, because it would, if we delayed, it would be another month of mortgage and
Yes.
carrying costs. And
Now, if they don't,
Yeah.
if they don't
Yeah.
get four
And-
yeses,
and we've been
what's the
waiting
process? They
10
appeal to
years.
the board?
Yeah, Bethany, that's a great question. If they don't get 4 yeses,
They can appeal to the board.
what happens?
It would be a denial.
But can't they appeal to the board? I thought I read that somewhere.
I mean, there really isn't much to appeal to the board in a case like this. That would be more for a financial situation. There is something about appealing to the board, but that is an option, I believe, that they can do.
Not that I want to stick the board with this.
Okay, so we have any other closing remarks or comments? Board members?
My piece.
Nope, not from me.
No, I mean, we would just really appreciate your support. It's been a long journey. We're excited for the program. We love the house. We realize the limitations in some of these historic homes. Like I said before, I think some of the rooms, we wouldn't, you know, people would not necessarily add to new construction. I think Joe brought up a good point about, that storage area, the little step up over the closet, that's about 200 square feet. So now, you know, that ceiling could be, you know, we can watch, but we're really talking about like an extra 250 at that point, square feet. So we would just very much appreciate your support. We love the design, we love the home, we'd love to pursue this project
And I would add, we designed this house to meet your requirements.
with the coverage and with, I mean, there were tons of restrictions. It took us months to just come up with this plan for the garage.
And I do think meeting all the other zoning criteria for coverage and those types of things, I think is actually a very positive.
Yeah, we really, and we try not to push it, we're not trying to ask for too much, like, we really were trying to be very respectful of the home and the process and everything, we really were.
I know how difficult it is to make coverage work in this town. And it was actually one of the things that I brought up in the incentive program. Do we change the 25% to maybe 27 or 28? Because I thought that on the extra small lots in town, that was actually going to come up more than floor area ratio, because we run into that a lot with the new homes. If you have a 50 by 150 lot, you run out of 25% building coverage long before floor area ratio comes into effect, especially when you add a garage and it's a detached, and you have to take those credits at that point. Not so much on these larger lots in town. It doesn't come into effect, but this is kind of that limit, right? At that 13,000 square foot lot, you can see how they had to struggle to get it to here.
Yeah, and the corner lot created a lot of challenges. I mean, when we purchased the home, even though I'm in real estate, our hopes were to build the garage off of 6. And we couldn't do it. We just
Right.
couldn't really do it.
It pretty much has to stay back in that corner.
I don't think we would let you either.
Poor Joel.
There was,
He
I mean,
out of my office. 'Cause we
there's
had
been
done
many
that.
discussions on how do we make 4 cars work on this. It's been, we've looked at access off of 6th Street, attaching it to it. This is a corner lot. Your goal as a historic board in general, is what you can see from the street, right? We have 2 facades that we're looking at, and we entertained them for a little bit, but we absolutely were against it. And we were able to make this work, this detached structure, under, the rules of nonconformity and adding on to it. Everything meets zoning code. The FAR, I mean, we're really at like 200 square feet is what we're arguing about. Anything over that addition area can be eliminated and 0 change to the plan, right? So that puts us at 200 over, which is this attached garage, which if there was no other garages, we'd get a bonus on that. But, I mean, that becomes a porte cochere. That's not counted as FAR. And then again, very minor changes to the plan, and it meets FAR as it is today without HOD. So it's, I mean, comes down to 200 square feet of this attached garage.
Okay,
It's-
All right.
thank you.
Yeah,
You good?
yeah.
Any other remarks?
Thanks for the discussion.
Thank you. I mean,
Thank you.
The information's terrific. I appreciate it. Okay, so, commissioners, do we have a motion?
I buried it, hold on.
So we need
I have my glasses.
4 yeses.
Yep, so
Do you
4
need-
votes, and this would be I move to approve, because you
It's
guys
not-
have the
not to
final
reject.
authority.
It has to be, the motion has to be to
You'd want to make it
approve.
affirmative, and the HPC has final authority on these specific types, so this does not need to go to the village board.
Okay, I move to approve case HPC -13 -2023, 515 South Lincoln Street, preservation incentive for historically significant structures, property dash request for alternative bulk zoning regulations, building permit fee waiver, and expedited processing, construction of a rear and side addition on the main house, and side and second story addition on the existing detached garage. Sorry, I didn't think I'd be reading, didn't bring my glasses. Too late now.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Barkley? Aye. Commissioner Gonzalez?
Aye.
Commissioner Elder?
Aye.
Chairman Prisby?
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
I didn't mean to make you sweat there. Um,
I was.
I'm sweating for you.
We all are.
Yeah, congratulations. I do, want to say that this is something that was very, sometimes heated at some point, but I think this was a great discussion to have.
Yep.
What kind of turned me at the end was, I really don't want to hold you up. I know what position you're in. I know the hard work you guys have already put into it. I think it looks great. And so the design I've got no issue with. I think what's going to come out of this is I think we're going to learn as a group and as a commission from this over the course of the next months. We're going to have some real serious discussions because I know our office has a couple that are going to come in. Michael Abraham's already got a few more, a couple I already know about. And I know a couple other architects locally have already talked to me kind of on the side that there are people looking to do these things. And again, as the initial one that dealt with floor area ratio, it obviously spurred a huge discussion here that I think we need to start having some maybe private discussions one-on-one to kind of figure out what direction we think the incentive program should be. Because I do see this as there is a vehicle here to get things out of hand with certain applicants who we know, we've seen it over the years for many things, can abuse the system. And I get very concerned about that. So I got to a point where I just said to myself, I don't want to hold you up for putting together a great effort on the design, and you've taken this amount of time. I didn't want to hold you up for another month at that point. But I think this board needs to do a little, kind of as a group, some interaction and some soul searching and figure out what we want to do for some of the ones that come up in the future.
You know what's great about this, though, is a lot of these homeowners are coming to Bethany before they come to us. They're getting their name on this list, their house on this list, and she's aware of it before we are. And her voice of reason and her voice of what you guys will become as this goes on will be reiterated to them before it even comes to us. So there's that, firsthand from Bethany before even
Well,
us.
what swayed me was after hearing all three of you, how much effort you put into it, and then I had to do a soul searching to myself, like, oh my gosh, it's here, it's already here. I mean, because I don't want to, I like the fact that you maintain, like, majority of the exterior facade, some fashion, and and the design is mostly effective in the back. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm the one that advocated that to give flexibility to homeowners. And so, but going back, it was the effort that you all, and the sensitivity, and that I believe you addressed, that you were trying to work with us as best ways you could. One of the things I would suggest for not yourself, because it would be good to get one or two of us in conversation on your efforts, because then we become more as a team member to you, and we can also educate we can communicate to our board members what were the restrictions, what were the flexibilities, and what are you, as a homeowner, what were you trying to attempt? That's something that we've asked before, even with new homes, which doesn't always happen. I'm not gonna go there, but that's always something. And actually, because I've been on your side, because I'm a preservation architect, and I had to go to the city of Chicago and throughout. Usually what I try to do immediately, as soon as we're proposing to do some sort of facade restoration, I'm letting landmarks understand, hey, there's a building owners, they want to do these types, they want to improve the building in this such a way, and they like that. And you'll still get some criticism, but they're much more lenient, much more understanding once you're in front of them as a board. So that's just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Good luck, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You earned it.
Okay, any public comments? Anyone in the audience want to speak? Any more? Something else?
Thank you.
Thank you. New business. Bethany, is there any new business?
I have
you're
none.
aware of? Anyone else?
No, all good.
Okay, old business. Amendments to Title 14 status update.
I have none.
Nothing's gone on in the last 13 days.
No, we did just meet.
Didn't think
In
so.
fact, your nameplates were still up since the last meeting, so it did make it
Okay.
easy to set up.
Robbins Park Historic District gateway signs. I think that hasn't moved either since last
It
meeting.
hasn't. Just a reminder, though, we did hire Parvin Klaus to start with the designs. So I'm anticipating in the next couple weeks, they're going to put together a couple different options. Those will be brought forward, and then we can kind of discuss them and tweak as needed.
Okay.
So they are working on that, which is exciting.
I know Bill's not here, but the 6th Street Improvement
There are
Project.
no updates.
He's gonna want to hear something. You gotta give us something. Is there anything going on with that?
No updates since the last 2 weeks.
Anyone else?
No.
Because I
No.
think that's it.
That is it.
Yeah.
Then I need a motion to adjourn for the evening.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Right.
All in favor, roll call? You need a roll call that?
You can just do a voice vote.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Good job, Chairman.
Ugh.
That was fun though, right?
That was good.